Welcome.
Recording in progress.
Welcome everyone. This is our strength training class. So, I'm Coach Julio. We will start with the warm up. Okay. Internet's a little slow. I'm noticing. So we'll start with the warm up. We'll transition into the workout, and the movements we'll go through. We'll do 2 rounds of every set of group set. So we'll probably, I think earlier in the week, we targeted arms and shoulders a little bit more over legs. So this will be a little bit more, just even. So we'll try to go arms, chest or back, shoulders, and then legs. So we'll try to hit a little bit more legs. And then if you're with me afterwards for the next class, then you're going to go ahead and stretch a bit more. So we won't do any of the stretching much for here after the class. And then tomorrow we will have more of like a lighter lifting session and also our balance class. So that's going to be tomorrow. And then if you got the emails, so I provided that information on the emails for the meetup on Saturday. So hopefully we could get some folks to join us there. So that's at 7 a.m. at the Starbucks off Edinger and Brookhurst, I believe. So, all right, let's go ahead and begin by looking left to right. My neck is almost, I don't want to say healed, but it's definitely not aching as much as it was on Monday. So almost there. Up and down. All right, let's do neck circles. Hi, Lisa, Karina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. So neck circles. Switch. Let's do snow angels. Bring that right arm across. Left arm. Excuse me. Let's reach up towards the ceiling and then to the left or to the right. Stretching out our sides a little bit more here. Switch. Trunk rotation, so left to right. Left to right here. A little bit further with these next few turns, just a little bit further. All right, let's go with ab circles. So hinge at the hips, come here, move across, pump. Big hula hoops. So big giant hip circles. Morning, Doris. We are on week 7, approaching the end of week 7. So we have 3 more weeks after this week. Just big giant hip circles. And again, I think most of you have communicated with me if you wanted to be re-enrolled or not. So I have my list here in case you want to confirm, but I think most of you are good. If not all, switch. Let's go quad stretch. I'm going to be doing some movements for our quads today, so we want to stretch them out. We'll probably do a variety of lunges today for our legs. We'll switch. So our hamstring stretch. So slight bend at the knees, bring your hands down, grab your ankles, drop your hips, and expand. One more. Alright, and we're gonna do just ice skaters here. So instead of doing the sumo squats or the deep squat, let's just kind of reach here and more of like a stretch. So just wide stance and just shift left to right. All right, very good. Okay, so as mentioned today, we'll do giant sets. Each set's going to consist of 3 movements. Usually it's going to be an arm, chest, or back, and then a leg movement. Okay, so we'll do 2 rounds. So to start off, we're going to go with the Poliquin lateral raise. That's going to be a hammer curl to this point, elbows come up, then we extend at the elbows, and then back down. Okay, so we're trying to include at least like a multi muscle group movement, so this would be one of those. Okay, so that targets the biceps, the shoulders, and a little bit working on that elbow joint as well. For our back, we're gonna go ahead and do a reverse flies. Okay, so a reverse fly, you're gonna be kneeled, bent over, dumbbells are here, and instead of bringing them here like we're used to, we're gonna go out. Okay, you could also do these by sitting down on a chair towards the front. You would just kind of bring the dumbbells underneath your legs and expand there. So that's another option. And then for our legs, what we're gonna go ahead and do, it's gonna be a Cossack squat. So that's gonna be wide stance, goblet style dumbbell, and you're slowly gonna drop your hips below your knee, come back up, and then do that to the other side. Okay, that's gonna be our 3 movements for this first set. Okay, so go ahead and grab your equipment, have it nearby. I'm actually gonna do these barefoot. I feel like anytime there's a movement that requires some ankle stability or flexibility, the shoes kind of get in the way. So, all right, so Poliquin lateral raises is our first movement. So remember, we're here. We're gonna do a hammer curl, elbows up, extend, and down. That's 1. We're doing 10. 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. So 30 seconds rest in between movements. So I'll demonstrate the reverse fly. So this is how you would do it on a chair. So you have your chair there. I'm just gonna bring camera back a little bit more. Okay. So again, standing position, you would be here bent over, back is straight, and we're going here. Okay. From a sitting position, kind of have your chest on your legs, your dumbbells are underneath your legs, and you're gonna go out here. Okay. So this one will probably protect your back a little bit more, and the one standing, as long as you have your core engaged and tight and your back isn't arching, you should be okay. All right. So this chair just kind of eliminates that factor on there. But I also want to, use the core that I've been developing over the last few weeks to stabilize my body for these movements. Ready? So 10 to 12, and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Alright, and that's for our back. Okay. Next is going to be our Cossack goblet lunge. So remember that one, we just have a wide stance, dumbbell or your plate is here, and we just drop your hips back, come up, and drop here. Okay. That one we're doing 8 on each leg. 10 seconds. All right, let's grab those dumbbells. Grabbing both of mine here, keeping them up high, wide stance, and begin. So, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, oof, 7, 7, 8, and 8. All right. Alright, this is where we take our minute break. So we'll take a minute break in between the giant sets, okay? We're gonna try to go through at least 3 of these giant sets. Yeah, I was watching the heat advisory map for it's gonna be really hot. I think it's passing by already, but I think I'm right below like the red line where things were really warm. So I think anyone above kind of like the 91 freeway is feeling it a bit. So stay hydrated, Alright, let's go with our second set of lateral raises, Poliquin lateral raises, and begin. So curl, hammer curl, elbows up, extend, down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, drop those. 30 seconds rest. All right, let's go ahead with our reverse flies. So let's bend over, hinge at the back, at the hips, and begin. 10 to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Very good. Ooh.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is there like a breathing technique, like when you're lifting, you breathe in or breathe out?
Yeah, it's definitely good question. So I brought it up a few times. So when you are thinking of going away from your body, almost like expanding, that's when you want to inhale as your lungs are getting bigger. And then as you're closing in, that's when we're exhaling. So usually, if you're going away from the body, so right here I would inhale, I would go inhale, exhale. And then like a shoulder press, I'm opening up. So inhale, exhale. So again, when you're thinking of like your body's opening up, that's usually when you want to breathe, as your lungs are going to get filled with air. And then as you're kind of bringing your body tighter or closer, then you're almost releasing that air in. If that makes sense. So same.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, because there's times where I try the opposite, and it just feels odd, and I start hyperventilating sometimes. So, or my heartbeat will kind of like not be consistent. So yeah. So just think about it that way. With most movements, it's when you're opening up, is when you want to inhale, and then as you're kind of finishing that force or controlling it, that's when you're exhaling as well. So.
Also, is it like breathe in from your nose, breathe out from your mouth, or just breathe in and out?
With that, I've always found that it's whatever comes more naturally to you. So I know there's, sometimes people talk about in through your nose, out through your mouth. But I mean, if you have a stuffy nose that day, is it gonna work out? So it's just what comes more naturally, and it really just, it's more of like a comfort thing, because sometimes that could get your mouth really dry if you're doing that, or your nasal passages could be a little bit clogged up. So it could change day to day. So I would do what feels more naturally, but I think what's more important is the breathing pattern that you're doing during the actual exercise, as far as like the inhaling and the exhaling at the right time. So.
Well, thank you.
Yep. All right. So we did Poliquin lateral raises. Did we do this first? I lost my train of thought. Did we do the? I think we did, right? Yeah. So now we have our Cossack squats. So we're wide. So here, for instance, I would go inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And then there's going to be some movements that they're not as taxing or as demanding as what your breathing requires. So that's just going to be more of a comfort thing. Like this is one of those where, I'm talking and I'm really not as gassed. But if I'm doing push-ups or something a little bit more cardio wise. I want to be a little bit more consistent, or at least acknowledge my breathing patterns a little bit more. Yeah, like when I'm running, I'm sure many of you have heard of like zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4 and 5. So I feel like when I'm running more easy and calm and things are a little bit more relaxed, I'm usually just breathing through my nose, in and out of my nose. And it's when like the intensity gets a little bit more taxing or demanding, then I might just use both my nose and my mouth. So I remember in high school, my high school coach would sometimes, he was big on just breathing through your nose. So he would have us fill up our mouth with water, and that's how we would be running. So we would run with water in our mouth, so we were forced to only breathe through our nose. But again, some of us just got really uncomfortable or were running slower. And that's kind of like when I started finding out, I was like, okay, like it's a little bit better to breathe what feels more natural, because everyone's going to be a little bit different. And like I said, those passages could be different from day to day, especially if you have allergies. So our next set, we're going to go ahead for arms or shoulders. We're going to do our shoulder complex. So this is going to be, we've done this a while back. We're going to go up and down for about 12 seconds. Then we're going to do figure eights for 12 seconds. Then quick little shoulder presses right here. Okay, and then we're going to do steering wheels. Okay, so your arms will feel that one, okay? So that's going to hit our shoulders, okay? And then for our chest, what we could do for our chest, that's going to fatigue the shoulders. So this one, we might just go with that set, and then also go with, we did hip flexors. We'll do reverse lunges, where we're just going to go reverse lunge, come back, and alternate. And if we are having trouble with the lunges, then again, you could do a static lunge, and you could go a little bit wider, and then you could just go up and down for that motion, okay? If we're doing 8 and 8, then just do 8 on that one leg before you switch. All right, we're probably gonna zoom through this one because it's just 2 movements. I don't wanna compromise one lift because of another one, so that's why we're gonna just focus on this shoulder one. All right, so ready, and begin. So let's go right here, 2, 3, 4. Figure eights. Shoulder press, so right here real quick. And steering wheel, so all the way out and then just steer. Three, 2, 1, time. Put that down. Woo, shake that off. Have those 7-pounders. Man, back in the day, I used to do it with the 25-pound plate, but I'd be falling apart doing those. So, all right. Like I said, reverse lunges is going to be our next one. Actually, yeah. Let's go and do, we could do a standing oblique crunch. So this one, we're pretty much just going to have one dumbbell. We'll get to the lunges right now. I want to at least squeeze something in. So we'll go here, hold your dumbbell. You could just kind of keep your hand on your head, and then go up and then down. Okay. So, sorry, you're here and you're going with the dumbbell down. I was like, something feels off. So yeah. So the hand with the dumbbell sinking down towards your knee, and you should feel the stretch on that opposite side. We'll do 8 to 10 of these. Let's switch. This is just helping to expand the muscles on your obliques and also your intercostals. So your rib cage, you have muscles in between every bone in there, so we're just stressing those out a little bit more. Sometimes you forget we have muscles in certain areas. So all right, and then now we're gonna go ahead and do the reverse lunges. So again, two options. You could go alternating reverse lunges here, okay? And then there's another version that most of you, if not all, probably don't have access to right now. But if you had like a little step, sometimes you'll see those steps on the gym. You could stand on the step and you could drop down a little bit more. So where you start, you're about 2 to 3 inches more elevated. And if you step back and come back, that's gonna target the glutes a little bit more. But again, that's kind of like a weird kind of equipment to have randomly. So reverse lunges are just get in that static position and go up and down, okay? We want a total of 16, so 8 on one leg and 8 on the other. Ready? And begin. So one. Remember, if you're doing the reverse lunges and our balance, we still need to work on it. Instead of coming straight back, you could always go a little bit wider. And then now we're eliminating that balance factor. You have 2 more on each side. All right. Very good. So let's take 40 seconds rest. We'll go back to those shoulder movements. All right, let's go ahead. So grab that one single dumbbell. We're gonna go with our shoulder complex. Ready, and begin. So up and down. Figure eights. Shoulder press. All right, steering wheels. And time. Oof. How's that shoulder? Shoulders are okay. All right, if you have heavier weight, maybe for the oblique crunches right now, grab your heavier weights. So let's do that. Or if there's a way where you could grip 2 dumbbells with one hand, but like I have these small ones here, which I could. But yeah, if you're not able to do it in a safe manner, then just go ahead and do the one dumbbell. So again, just a stretch. So we're singing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna go for 12, 11, and 12. I'm gonna switch. Ready and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Reverse lunges. We'll start those in 30 seconds. Okay. Whew. 30 seconds. Excuse me. Grab those dumbbells. Ready and begin. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, and 8. All right. Very good. All right, we still have one more gen set to go. All right, so this one, I'll give you 2 options. We're gonna go ahead and start with incline push-ups. So you could have a chair. Make sure that chair does not move. You could just be in this position and just do push-ups. Okay. This one we're gonna do a burnout. Okay. So a burnout is pretty much you're going until those arms, chest are getting tired. Okay. So it could be 8, it could be 12, it could be 15. But please, please, please stop like 2 repetitions before you feel like you're gonna collapse. Because if you're going until you have every last ounce of energy left and you really push yourself, your arms might give up or cramp up, and then we don't want any accidents, okay? So just be mindful of that. So once you feel like you're reaching that point of where you're close to redlining, just stop right there, okay? That's gonna be our first one. All right, we have targeted our hip flexors already with the Cossack. We have done reverse lunges here. I know tomorrow we're gonna do some RDLs with our balance, but for today, what we could do for our hamstrings is we could do our RDLs, which we're here, and then just drop the weight slowly down your shins and then hold it back up, okay? Or actually, no, what we're gonna do is gonna be a deadlift with the dumbbells. So instead of just extending or hinging here, you're gonna do a similar version, but you're also gonna be bending down at the knees. So you see my knees are also coming down and then coming back up and extending. So that's gonna target your hamstring, your glutes, and your back. So that's a good way to get those 3 muscle groups, okay? But we have to hinge there. And then lastly, our last lift is gonna be 21s, which is a bicep movement. So we're gonna do, I think a lot of you remember these. We do 7 curls halfway down from here. So 7 of these, okay? Then we go down here and we do 7 halfway up. And then once we've done those 7, you do 7 regular curls. So 7 plus 7 plus 7, 21s, okay? That's going to be the movement, and we're doing 2 rounds of everything. So this is going to be kind of one of those sets that just your arms, your legs feel like jelly. Okay? Ready? So position yourself. If you don't have a chair or this environment to provide that, then do some knee-assisted push-ups on the floor. Okay? Ready? And begin. Alright, I'm good with 20. I feel like I'm cramping up. So give yourself 30 seconds to recover. We have our bicep curls right now. Let's grab those dumbbells. All right, 21s, ready? Get them up here and then halfway down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, then drop them down. Now halfway up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, all the way down, and then 7 full curls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Very good. Drop those down. Those arms are probably ready to fall off. Ooh. Give those arms a little bit of rest. We have our RDLs right now. Alright, let's get those RDLs. Remember, this is, the deadlifts. Sorry, I keep calling them RDLs. We're doing deadlifts. So, again, remember, we're here. It's similar like an RDL here, but we're also dropping down our knees, okay? So, ready? We're doing 10 of these. So, again, so you could just follow along. You see how my hips are coming down as well, and then come back up. 1. Okay? So, this would be a deadlift here. 2. 3. 4. So my torso stays at about a 45-degree angle. 5. Instead of like the RDL, it comes at about a 90-degree angle. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Whew. Let those dumbbells go. How's that set? Ooh. Anyone's arms about to fall off? Good. Debbie, I think we need to get... What's that?
Oh my gosh.
I think some of you might need heavier equipment. All right, let's go with our push-ups. All right, so get in position. Remember, since we're a little bit more tired, there's a chance that you might do less than the first round. Okay, so again, it's a burnout, so until you can't anymore. Be safe, ready, and go. Whew, I'm good with 20. Alright. Good job. If you're still going, good job. Definitely doing more than me. We got 21s next. We'll start in 15 seconds. Oof. How's it going, Mike? Let's go ahead and begin. 21s. So get that dumbbells up here by your shoulders and begin. Feet down. 1, 2. All right, Mike's doing well. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so right here, that's where we control it down. Now we go halfway up, 7, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, all the way down. All right, now the 7 full, okay? Ready, and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh. All right. We just have one set of deadlift and then we're good. Gonna have to log out as soon as we're done just so I could upload the video and have hopefully some room in the camera for the next class. Ooh. All right, last one, deadlifts. Ready? 10 of those. And begin to remember, squat down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. Nice work, everyone. High fives. Good job. How are you feeling? Is that a little bit intense?